we've got too many branches here. We've got a very strong branch right here. What I'd like to see is the branches with about the same amount of vigor. Way too strong for this tree. Now I've got a couple of options. You know, one thing I could do possibly would be to come in here and stub this back and grow some new shoots there. But I'm not going to do that because I think that's too strong. It's going to, even if I do that, it's going to be too dominant. So I'm going to take it out completely and we'll just get rid of it. And that way I don't have to worry about it in the future. I've got still about 30 branches in here, and for Gisela 3 that's way too many. So I'm gonna thin out some of these as well. Some of these weaker branches, they're going to go, and we're just going to cut this down to fewer branches, because if I have too many branches on a Gisela 3 rootstock, what's going to happen is that I'm going to lose my vigor once this tree starts to fruit, and I'm going to need to be careful about that. So I would like to get down at this point in time probably somewhere around 15 upright branches, and so we'll just do a little bit more thinning here and then decide where we're at. Again, I'm going to just take that whole thing out there, just open that up, and I still probably have too many. If this were Mazard, I would remove this stronger one and leave the weaker, but since this is Gisela 3, I'm going to leave the stronger here, and so that I keep the vigor in this tree, because again I'm a little bit concerned about the vigor here with this. So one of the other things about the KGB that you've got to be concerned about is that when this comes into production, you don't want your pickers picking from the ground, and so you got low branches like this. I'm going to take that branch off there, this branch off here, just because of that. And now the only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tip some of these, because on a productive rootstock like this, the fruit tends to cluster at the tips, and so I'm going to cut this back a little bit so that it spreads the fruiting out throughout the entire branch more evenly, and that will help to reduce the amount of fruit on here and do away with some of those clumping, that clumping that you get here at the tip. So that's all. I'm done with this. In the future we'll do some stubbing back, but not at this point in time. Okay, we want to talk about the mature KGB now. And so the first couple of years we're forming the system. We've got branches that have grown now. This is going into the third leaf. We have a few flowers here, but by the fourth leaf now we'll have flowers all up and down these branches. And at that point then we need to start thinking about, okay, so how do we manage this tree as a mature tree? Because we're switching over from the vegetative state now to the mature state. And what I have found in some trials that I have in Oregon is that by the fourth leaf, this is not a particularly precocious system because of all the heading cuts that you have to do. But by the fourth leaf, because of all these upright fruiting units that you have in the KGB system, this tree is actually outproducing some of the more precocious systems, such as the Vogel Central Leader. Fourth, fifth, sixth leaf, I'm getting more fruit off of the KGB trees than I am off Vogel Central Leader or my steep leader trees. So I find that to be very interesting. So what do we do now once this tree is mature? Well, the first thing that I need to do is to start renewing the wood. I will look at my tree going into the fifth leaf now, and I'll start thinking about fourth leaf going in the fourth leaf and the fifth leaf, and I'll start looking at, okay, now where are my largest branches? So my largest branches are the branches that I'm going to select to be stubbed back. And I'll stub these things back. So here's a large branch, here's a large branch, and I'll stub these things back to about 12 inches. So I'll come back in here and make a stub cut there, make another stub cut there, and then I'm on to the next tree. So what I'm doing when I'm pruning these, pruning these trees, is looking at the tree, looking at the largest, finding the largest 1, 2, 3, 4 branches in a tree and stubbing them back. Then I'll move on to the next tree and I'll do the same thing. I've got somebody else coming in behind me that's dealing with the rest of this tree, so I take it in a step-by-step process. There's 3 steps to pruning this tree as a mature tree. The first step is to make that stub cut. The second step is to remove all lateral branches off of these uprights. I might leave 1 or 2 lateral branches that are coming out into the row here. They're not shading anything, but all the rest of the lateral branches get removed. And then step 3 is to simply cut that tree at the top so that it's no higher than 8 feet. So I may tip it, I may cut a substantial amount off, but the maximum height is 8 feet. So 3-step process of pruning this tree as a mature